Well, a quiet weather pattern is underway with moderating temperatures for much of the nation. But how long will it last? Some big changes appear to be in the offing. We'll get into all of that, plus today's trivia question, a word from a brand new sponsor, and our hometown hotspot is back on the menu. So stick around. A new episode of Cold Rain's Weather World starts right now. Happy Wednesday morning to you folks. This is Jason Pritchard coming at you with a new episode of Cold Rain's Weather World, where we talk about the current weather and the upcoming weather and a few other fun things along the way. I'd like to welcome you into the channel. If you're new, please consider hitting the subscribe button and giving us a like if you like the content. It's that little thumbs up icon at the bottom of the screen. And also leave a comment in the comment section. It can be a question about the show, a comment about the show, a question about weather in general, or a prayer request. We take prayer requests here. If there's something that's going on in your life, we'd like to walk alongside of you there and lift you up. So let me know if there's anything that we can pray over. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started as we always do with our daily trivia question. And so today's trivia question has to do with precipitation. There's not a lot of precipitation going on across the country today, but this question is about precipitation. So the question is, which of the following is a type of precipitation? Is it frost, fog, dew, or grapple? I'll let you grapple with that as we go through the course of the show. If you know the answer, go ahead and type it in the comments section. If not, then we'll reveal it at the end of the show. We're going to go ahead and start here with our satellite picture. And before we do, though, the agenda for the show is the current weather roundup. So we're going to look at current conditions. Then we're going to take a look at the weather for the upcoming week. Takes us through the end of the work week into the end of the weekend. And then we'll take a quick peek at the longer range. Some changes look to be in the offing, and we'll take a look at those. We'll wrap up with our hometown hotspot and the answer to today's trivia question. So stick around. Here we go. So satellite picture, not a lot of activity out here today. Just this little system. It looks scarier than it is on satellite, but it's producing a little light precipitation across portions of the Great Lakes region, but just a lot of high clouds here. Some high clouds moving in through North Carolina, back here in the Four Corners region, and diving down through Colorado. Big system out west, moving on out. As you can see, a little leftover clouds, but all the precipitation, heavy winds gone from up there. System that was affecting the Northeast yesterday pulling out, and this big system that affected Florida the other day with heavy rain is now wound up out here in the Atlantic, and it's getting out of the picture. So that is all good news. It's a quiet pattern that's kind of settled in. As you can see here, up here into Minneapolis, down just east of Minneapolis, lower Michigan here into Chicago. We're looking at some rain. It looks like a little mixed precipitation on the northern edge of that, but nothing really to write home about. Outside of that, there's just nothing going on, nothing doing anywhere in the United States. So a very, very quiet pattern, and we can certainly use that. Temperatures, nothing too notable here, just above average for the most part. 30s along the northern half of the country, so 30s, and you start to get into 40 around Columbus, 49 in Washington, and down here toward the southern tier of the nation, we're looking at 45 in Louisville. Tulsa 53, Las Vegas 57. You get a little bit warmer as you get on down here into the southern part of the deep south into Florida. So pretty mild across the entire nation. Now, as we go on in here and take a look at our jet stream pattern, you can see here we've got a little bit of a southern branch activity going on here, just bringing in some high clouds more than anything else. We've talked about a zonal flow for the last couple of days. And so you're going to see that really set up here as we get on into the next few days. Pretty much west to east flow. It's pretty fast. There's not really a good mechanism to wind up storms here. And so just fast flow in from one side of the country to the next. And so we're going to fly on through here. So we see a little bit of a ridge develop out here into the west. That's going to bring some warmer temperatures out west, a little bit of a dip to the east. Again, this is just fast zonal flow down here, so don't let the colors scare you across the south as we go on into time. This is Friday. We're looking at a little bit of a buckle in the jet stream in the east. This is where we would find a little bit of a cooler temperature pattern. Nice ridge out west, so you're seeing warm temperatures out there. And then as we get on into Saturday into Sunday, again, another little trough, little cold shot comes in, a clipper comes by, so it delivers a nice little punch of cold air Sunday. And then we get on out into the work week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And you can see over here in the Four Corners region, we'll stop it here as we get into Tuesday, but we're starting to see a bit of a trough out west now and a ridge response in the east. That's going to bring mild temperatures into the east and a nice cool shot down into the west. And you're also going to see a little bit of mischief starting to take place out here. This 997 low, as this trough starts to dig in, this is going to wind up a system. Both the European and the GFS have this, so we have a little bit of more confidence, and it's on the ensembles too. So we have a little more confidence that we're going to start to get into an active pattern as we get on into the end of February into the first part of March. So this is our 500 millibar height anomaly map. We talk about this sometimes. It gives us a picture of what's going on upstairs because we want to know what's going on upstairs to understand what's going on downstairs. That's how the weather works generally. And so we have these big oranges. Those are ridges in the upper atmosphere. Blues are troughs in the upper atmosphere. Ridges are warm at the surface, generally speaking, and troughs are cooler at the surface, generally speaking. So we can see what's going on upstairs, and we can kind of get an idea. This is the European ensemble, and this is valid for later tonight, essentially. And so we're going to put this on to motion. You can see big oranges out west, big blues in the east. Yesterday, it looked like there was going to be a lot of warm air across the entire nation. And so that would lead us to believe that we should see oranges all over the place, and we don't. We see big oranges out west as we get into Saturday. We get blues out into the east. That's a ridge trough couplet, and so warm to the west, cool to the east. So the east looks like it's going to be a little bit cooler than it did yesterday. So we're going to put this on out to Sunday. You can still see that trough in the east, and then on into Monday and Tuesday. Look at this big system moving into the west coast. You start to see that trough set up out here, response of warmer air coming into the east. We'll see that reflected in the temperature maps. And if we go on out a little bit further, we get into Wednesday. Now we're looking at something here in the middle of the country. We talked about this yesterday, potential for a storm system around the middle of next week. And so we're starting to see the models converge on that idea with our active pattern coming back. So that's upstairs. Now let's look at downstairs. Let's see what the pattern looks like. So we're looking at Wednesday. This is overnight tonight. So we're going to roll this forward. You can see nothing going on anywhere, just high pressure dominating the west, and really little light, a little low pressure, very weak wave producing some light precipitation across the Great Lakes and Pennsylvania up into the northeast. Big high pressure sitting right over the Rockies, just keeping a ridge anchored out there. And then we get a little clipper diving out of Canada toward the lakes. This will drop some snow across the Great Lakes into the New England, northern New England area as we get on into Saturday into Sunday. High pressure follows in behind it. These little blue lines that you see essentially are thickness lines here, and so that's gonna, you don't need to really get into that, but just where you see the blue lines, it's a little cooler. Where you see the red lines, it's warmer. So just know that for now. And then we go on into Sunday, Monday, quiet pattern persists over the nation. It's not until Tuesday or Wednesday we start to see some activity here in the center part of the country. We'll take a little bit of a look at that in our longer range outlook. So total precipitation through next Wednesday, as we see that activity start to take place here early to mid next week. Precipitation breaks out in association with that, so you get this big blob down here. If we roll this back and just go through Sunday, we're really not looking at very much at all in the way of precipitation across the nation. So look at this, just meager amounts. Up here in the northeast is where, with these clipper activity, activity coming in from the northern branch of the jet stream, really delivering some light rain, snow up here. That's pretty much the extent of what we expect to see. Some of the ensemble members have a few little weak systems and so forth, and so it's on the mean with a small little precipitation footprint. But nothing major we expect to see over the course of at least through Sunday. So that's good news. And of course, our snowfall, if we're not getting precipitation, we're not getting snowfall. And the only place in the country that has any sort of snowfall at all is up here in the northeast. And you see that little bit of a Great Lakes area up into the northeast here. I kind of drew a little farther south than I meant to. And then in the Rockies, snowfall down here in the Rockies. So in the higher peak. So really not a lot to look at from a snowfall perspective. As I said, quiet week coming up. Our temperature anomaly map, this is a 5-day rolling mean. So every time I advance this, it takes us out to the next 5 days. So this is days 2 through 6. This is going to take us essentially from today through, or, this is essentially 7 p.m. the night before through 7 p.m. March the 4th. And so look at this big ridge out here in the west, a little trough in the east, keeps it a little bit closer to normal here, but all of your anomalies are out west, your positive anomalies. So this is where we expect, as we kind of roll forward in time, you see that move kind of east, but really going to be warmer than normal out west, a little cooler than normal, or right around average as we go through the next 5 days or so. So bouncing through our temperatures over the next several days, we're looking at highs and we'll look at lows, but highs this afternoon generally in the 30s and 40s across the north, 60s and 70s across the south. So that's going to feel good. A little bit of a trough dips into the west, and so you see a little bit of a lower pattern out there, temperature pattern out there. So, but generally 40s, 50s, northern tier, 60s, 70s, even some 80s showing up along the U.S.-Mexico border down into Florida. Thursday, similar pattern. Chilly across the north, warm across the south. And then we start to see, as we get toward the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this area of cooler temperatures up in Canada. There's a clipper that we looked at earlier that's going to move by and drag in a cold front. And so we'll see temperatures kind of dip back in the east. And you see that kind of as we go out here into Saturday, below freezing in the Great Lakes, up into the northeast as we get into Sunday. And that wedges down into the southeast, still kind of milder than normal out here in the west, with 40s down to 80s all the way into southern Texas. Now, low temperatures, similar story. Cold out in the in the higher peaks in the Rockies, over the Great Lakes, chilly, but everybody else is above freezing, and that just warms up as we get on into the week. So that's Thursday, then Friday. A little bit of a cool shot, as I said, comes into the northeast, and that spreads over into New England on Saturday. And then Sunday, we get a nice big punch of cooler air coming out of Canada. You see all these pinks showing up here. This is minus 20s, close to minus 30. That's not going to make it into the United States, but it will help funnel cold air down into the eastern portion of the country. So when we looked at our 5-day anomaly map before back here, this takes us in, covers most of the period that we just showed. You're generally warmer than normal out west, and average to a little cooler, where we get some of those cool shots up in the northeast. Because we're such a small outfit here at Cold Rains Weather World, we frequently need sponsorship to keep the lights on. So if you know any good sponsors, let me know in the comment section, and we can reach out, see if they are willing to sponsor the show. In the meantime, we've got a brand new sponsor today that we're really excited about. It is Rage Elevate. And so let's hear from Rage Elevate. Is your blood pressure constantly within normal limits? Do you find that you're frequently too calm, cool, and collected? Are you having trouble getting worked up about anything? If so, ask your doctor about Regelevate. Developed by Nahujan Biocare, Regelevate is the only drug proven to help increase blood pressure while raising heart rate and adrenaline levels at the same time. With only one daily dose, you'll see results in as little as 6 weeks. Forget all those natural remedies. Stop wasting time with meditation, and no more trying to eat your way into a lather. Regelevate will have your blood boiling in no time. Got the wrong order at the drive-thru? Well, they won't make that mistake again. Tired of waiting forever at the coffee shop? Regelevate will have you at the front of the line in no time. The barista will not stand a chance. And never get stuck in the slow lane again. Regelevate will have you driving like a bat out of, well, you get the point. And you'll never be late to another appointment. But Regelevate isn't for everyone. Tell your doctor if you have any of the following conditions: occasional headaches or heartburn, back pain, bad breath, a tendency to talk too much, a tendency to talk too fast, argumentative, frequently angry, difficulty sleeping, difficulty seeing straight, difficulty urinating, or are already frequently raging out. While taking Regelevate, rare but potentially serious side effects have occurred in some patients. Tell your doctor immediately if you experience any of the following symptoms: blurred vision, migraines, burning ears, burning lips, numbness in your fingers or toes, blindness, deafness, addition of new hands or feet, teeth falling out, spontaneous combustion, complete dismemberment, and of course, death. So go ahead and give Ridge Elevate a try and finally start living the life you've always dreamed of. What have you got to lose? Ridge Elevate, let's rage. Ridge Elevate is a product of Nahujan BioCare and may not be available in some states. Nahujan BioCare, making the world safer, healthier, and happier. Nahujan is protected from lawsuits, litigation of any type, and is not held liable for the results of any of the usage of its products. Availability of products and prices may vary. Thank you, Rage Elevate. Well, we are back with a look at the long range, and as I alluded to before, this quiet pattern that we're in is nice, but it's probably not going to last all that long. Taking a look here at our jet stream, we stopped here before and we can see sort of this Pacific jet that's just rolling in here, and it's kind of split out here, as you can kind of see by these little streamlines. They kind of go up and down. I'll show you that, see if I can draw this and make it make sense. But the jet kind of comes in here, and it's split out here in the Pacific, and you get one branch that kind of goes up like this. Is your polar jet, and you know, it kind of drops in and kind of goes along the Canadian border. So that's why we're not seeing too much in the way of cold air blasting into the United States. Down here, we've got our subtropical jet. It's bringing some disturbances along in the flow. It's generally moving west to east. So these two streams are kind of separate here. They're doing their own thing. Sometimes you can get a big system in the northern branch to come through and bring some precipitation, and likewise in the southern branch. And sometimes they get together in phase, and then you get a big storm. But that's not what we're seeing here. We're sort of seeing a ridge. But look what's happening here in the west. Now, it's been a nice flat zonal flow. We've had a nice week. This is 150 hours out. So this is next Monday evening into Tuesday morning. And look what's going on here. You've got this, I'm going to draw this with the pink again. But you've got this dip right in here. You see this? Dip right in here, like that, okay? So you got, this is indicative of a trough. And out ahead of these troughs, sometimes you get low pressures to start to spin up. And look at this, a 997 low is taking shape right over the panhandle of Texas. And so what is that gonna mean? Well, let's roll this forward and find out. So if we roll this on forward, we talked yesterday, there was a trough over here. If you tuned in the show yesterday, you saw sort of a positively tilted trough. Positively tilted troughs do not generally bring in precipitation and heavy weather of any type. They run like this. They're sort of northeast to southwest, and so you see positively tilted troughs kind of go through like that. Now, neutral and negative tilt troughs are where you need to start watching for storm development. Now look at this, what's going on here. Neutral is, of course, straight down, as you would probably gather, and then negative looks like this, so it's kind of northwest to southeast. You see that? That's a negatively tilted trough. Now look here, what's going on here? You've got this trough axis down here as we start to get into Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, down into the Four Corners. Look at this. See this? See this trough axis? What's it look like to you? That's a neutral to negative trough axis. And when you start to see this, you get good moisture return out of a moisture source like the Gulf of Cold Rain, for example. And then you start to see dynamics get involved, spin in the upper atmosphere. If we were to take a look at our energy map, which we're not going to do, you would see a nice swath of energy right in that area. And so we're going to move this on ahead, and look at this. This trough even takes on more of a negative tilt. This low pressure starts to deepen to 996, 991, 993. Look at that. And now you've got a kind of a dual jet structure. We're not going to get into jet dynamics today, but when you start to see a dual jet structure, you can get some really heavy precipitation. You get strong lift, probably a lot of instability coming in out of the with moisture coming in out of the Gulf, a return flow of warmer air here. So I would be on high alert if I live in this area here. If I can, let's draw this. This area here over the course of next Wednesday, middle of next week, for strong thunderstorms, maybe even a severe weather event through here, as this low pressure takes shape. Look at this trough. See, this is negatively tilted. All kinds of moisture is just flowing in out of the Gulf. And so you start to see that set up. Alarm bells should start to go off that we could have I've got a deepening low pressure, return flow out of the Gulf, a dual jet structure. Could see some heavy rain and some severe weather start to break out 990, that thing is still deepening, and then we get on into 986. It's up here over Illinois and Indiana. So big diffluence out ahead of this. This is divergence of the air way up high, and that leads to lift. Air vacuums out at the top, something's got to replace it, and it comes up, and so you get strong lift. And so you're seeing probably a pretty good severe weather outbreak there if this were to play out exactly right. Now, this is, we're looking at 8 days out, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, still got plenty of time to watch this. It goes ahead and deepens a little bit and then moves on off. And then you get the next system kind of rolling in. That's the European model. Now, the GFS generally agrees, but it kind of takes a piece off to the north and a piece off to the south, where the European kind of combines the systems. So we looked at that. Let's look at our total precipitation map. And so if we roll this on out to account for that time period, you're seeing, up to an inch, maybe close to 2 inches of rain in some of these spots with that system. If we roll the European, this is the ensemble mean. If we roll this on way out to 360, that's the end of 2-week period. You see where the active weather sets up. You've got a Pacific jet slamming into the west coast, so you're going to see more rain out here eventually once that ridge sort of settles down and you get more of a zonal flow out here. You're going to have more moisture coming in off the Pacific. So these areas out here from Washington down into California, particularly up in the higher peaks, you're going to see 2, 3, 4 inches of rain potentially. And then over in the east is where we start to see some of these storm systems gathering steam and taking shape and rolling off to the northeast, bringing a cold front through the south with potential severe weather and maybe some snow on the northern side. So we're going to watch all of that as we go out in time. 850 temperature anomalies. So these are warmer than average, where it's red and orange, and cooler than average where it's blue. And this is a 5-day mean. We saw this earlier in the show, but each time I roll this forward, it's accounting for 5 days. So this is essentially overnight on the 26th through overnight on March the 3rd. And each block advances forward. And as you can see, cool in the east, warm in the west, and then starts to get, more averaged out across the east as we go out in time. You start to see a return to a little bit of a milder pattern across the east. This sort of mutes out over time. When you have these situations where, and then later on in the period, we saw kind of a big ridge popping up out here, a little trough in the west, or sorry, a trough in the east, and you see the temperature mean sort of show that. So expect warmer than normal generally out west, average to below probably for the first half of the period, then that sort of trends in the other direction as we get on out in time. Again, you get out 2 weeks, none of the models are perfect, and there could be changes that happen. So we're going to watch it every day, but generally that's your temperature pattern. If we look at the surface, we looked at the upper air before, now we're going to look at the surface. And here's that next Tuesday morning, we got that system taking shape out here in the plains. Watch what happens. Starts to deepen, that trough goes negative. Look at this, big response with thunderstorms developing along a cold front. So we're starting to see that kind of calm ahead take shape here. And that storm system moves on up into the Great Lakes. We got snow breaking out where there's cold air being drawn into the north, thunderstorms moving across the south. Depending on the time of day, we're going to see, we'll see that sort of wax and wane as diurnal cooling and heating take over. But look at this little, see these little broken segments here? That's sort of indicative of the model thinking there might be some supercellular activity as opposed to a big contiguous line. And so we're going to watch that. If there's shear, if there's plenty of instability, tornadoes are not going to be out of the question with this. The model's sort of picking up on that broken supercellular activity, which is where you would find some of the stronger tornadoes. That's not a forecast. Don't write that in stone yet. It's just something to pay attention to as we get on into the work week next week. And then we've got another little system coming out here taking shape. That one moves on. The previous one moves off to the northeast. And then we've got this low kind of, the European seeing a low in the Gulf, another system moving into the west. And the European kind of breaks this apart, keeps the energy separate. But you got to watch this. When you have northern branch energy and southern branch energy in that proximity, you got to watch for a big system. It starts to organize, but way out here off the coast, throws some snow back into the mid-Atlantic and scrapes the coast of the northeast. And so we'll see. This is a big storm that gets together just a little bit too late to impact the eastern seaboard, but we're in a pattern where you've got plenty of energy, you've got plenty of cold air and warm air close together, and you get these clashes of air masses and big storms. And so we're going to watch what happens, but our active pattern comes back, and we start to see more storm activity. Here's another storm that takes shape as we go on out in time. So don't take any of that literally. Just understand that the active pattern is on its way back after we get past the weekend. So enjoy the weekend, and we'll keep you up to speed as we get on into early next week about what might happen severe weather-wise. So we're going to keep a watch on it. So that brings us to our hometown hotspot segment, which we do occasionally here at Cold Rain to highlight a random United States town. If you have any ideas or suggestions for a hometown hotspot that you'd like to see, leave them in the comments section and I will surely get to it. Now, today's hometown hotspot that's in the spotlight is Stuart, Virginia. I know a little bit about Stuart. I've got some family there, which is why I chose this one. So Stuart, Virginia was founded in 1792, and it was not named Stuart, it was named Taylorsville. But it was renamed to Stuart after the Civil War in honor of Confederate General Jeb Stuart. Located in Patrick County, Virginia, Stuart is home to 1,400 residents and is host to the county seat and the courthouse, and I have seen both. The Danville and Western Railroad line, fondly known as Dick and Willie, ended in Stuart. There is still a Patrick County road named Dick and Willie. At the line's end in downtown Stuart, the Dick and Willie had a hand-operated train turntable. And if you have never seen a train turntable, that is an interesting thing to see. It does not play music, but it turns the trains around. So take a look at that if you ever get a chance. Stuart boasts numerous festivals throughout the year, including a wine festival, the annual Strawberry Festival, and the most famous of all, the Apple Dumpling Festival. And I have been to the Apple Dumpling Festival, and the apple dumplings are good. While visiting Stuart, you can stay at the Virginian Hotel and also enjoy some fine country cooking at the Stuart Family Restaurant. And let me tell you, it is mighty fine. So check it out. So the forecast for Stuart is going to be over the next 7 days. We're looking at a high of 68 today, 47 tonight, 63 with a chance of light rain on Thursday, 36 Thursday night, a little cooler on Friday, 55. Friday night low is 40. And then Saturday is 56. We get that little cool punch coming in like we talked about before. So Saturday night, we're looking at 26 for the low. So our first night below freezing in several days. And then a high of Sunday of 44 and sunny through most of the period. So that is our hometown hotspot, Stuart, Virginia. And that takes us to today's trivia question. So we're going to answer that right now. Which of the following is a type of precipitation? Frost, fog, dew, or graupel? And you might be surprised to know that the answer is graupel. This is a type of precipitation that you would find in the wintertime. It's sort of a mix between snow and sleet, and you've probably seen it and haven't really thought much about it. So as we know, snow forms in the clouds. It falls down to the ground and lands and collects on the ground. Well, sometimes if there's a lot of wind circulation in the cloud, the snowflake will get blown around and it will encounter supercooled water droplets which exist in the cloud, and they will collect and coat the side of the snowflake and sort of freeze and puff the snowflake up. And what that does is it adds weight to the snowflake and turns it into kind of a puffy ball, a little bit bigger than a sleet pellet, falls a little harder to the ground. And sometimes you'll see that in the wintertime. You'll see these things that hit the ground, kind of explode a little bit, puff out. That's called graupel. And so that's what it is. It's also known as snow pellets, soft hail, hominy snow, which is not to be confused with hominy grits, or granular snow. So graupel is a type of winter precipitation, and now you know about graupel. And now you know the weather. So the next thing that we're going to talk that sound means that we're out of time. So with that, we're going to call it a wrap today. We'll talk about that other thing next time, okay? So you guys have a great Wednesday afternoon, and if I don't talk to you again today with an update, which I probably won't, I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you back soon. And remember, if you didn't like the weather you saw today, there's a better model out there somewhere. It's your job to go and find it. Take care.